Hello, this is Dr. John Wallman here. We've got this short video series of reasons for calm regarding COVID-19. With this short video, we're going to be looking at the number infected versus the mortality rate. The incidence, the number of people infected, this is how many are infected within a particular group, for example, a country or a state. For COVID-19, the numbers infected currently are, and this is as of 3/20, US 19,781. Towards the lower end of the scale, with a lot of cases, but as far as the incidence rate, we're looking at South Korea, and they have, as of the 20th, 8,799 cases. Italy, which has one of the highest incidence rates, is 47,021 cases. So let's convert the numbers into the rate. And to do this, you take the number of cases and divide it by the population. So in the US, the incidence rate is currently 0.006% for the country. South Korea, 0.017%. And Italy, 0.077%. So they have now one of the highest incidence rates of countries that we have reliable numbers from. So for these videos, I tend to remove any numbers from China and Iran and use Italy as the highest incident rate country. Now let's look at mortality rates. Mortality is the number of deaths per confirmed incidence, and I want to emphasize confirmed. Early on in any new pandemic, usually public health, doctors, hospitals are very, very good on getting all cases confirmed with laboratory testing. As a typical pandemic goes on, the testing of people goes down towards the very end. Initially, it starts low, goes higher, and then as people start relaxing and realizing it's not maybe so bad, they start categorizing people as COVID-like symptoms. That hasn't happened here yet, and hopefully it won't happen, so we end up with very good numbers by the end. But very frequently, like in the annual flu, towards the end, people just say, you have flu-like symptoms, we'll count it as the flu, when that might not be the case. Okay, in the US, 1.4% mortality rate for the country as a whole, and that's dropping rapidly from a start in the 2 to 4% mortality range. And this is as of March 20. So, so far we have 26 tests per million being done in the US. And that puts us into 16th place compared to the rest of the world. Now that's as of 3/9/20, and that number is going to go up as the US is responding very rapidly with a quick uptick since the 9th. So that number is going to be, I'm sure, much higher as far as tests. In South Korea, which has one of the highest testing rates in the world, they have 4,099 tests done per person as of the 9th. And that number is continuing to rise rapidly as they are very, very good at getting tests out quickly. So they do have a high number of cases, 8,799, and they have an early onset of the disease. They got infected there relatively soon after this began in China. Now let's compare that to Italy. They've got a mortality rate of 8.6%, the highest in the world. And that's as of 3/20. Now they have a testing rate that's okay, but it's 1/4 the testing rate of what they have in South Korea. They've only got 1,005 tests per million people as of March 9th. Now, a couple of things that put the Italian high mortality rate into context. The Italian population at 65 years of age or older is 23% according to the World Bank. They have the oldest population of any country in Europe. By comparison, the US population that is at 65 years old or older is 16%, and the world population at 65 years old or older is 9%. So Italy as a country has a much older population, and this disease particularly impacts people over 70 years old, 80 years old with underlying conditions. So the Italian population is getting hit particularly hard with this disease. So, summary, US mortality rate 1.4% as of 3/20. South Korean mortality rate as of 3/15, 0.6%, and Italian mortality rate 8.6%. All of these numbers are expected to keep on going down as more testing comes online. Now, this is a little more detail on how the mortality rate goes down as the number of confirmed cases goes up. In the beginning, early results, in the beginning of a pandemic, the death rate is fairly accurate. The confirmed incidence is very, very underestimated as there's limited testing available. You put those two together, the result is the mortality rate looks very high. And in the case of COVID-19, 2 to 4%. But these early results are known that the mortality rate is overestimated. This happens every time there's a pandemic or major disease outbreak. So, as any disease progresses and testing becomes available, and we can look at the US for this as of 3/20, the deaths remain still accurate and fairly consistent. But the confirmed incidence rate goes up rapidly as the testing becomes available. There's a lot of people out there who have the disease and either don't know it or it's really mild. They don't care. They don't go to a doctor's office. And the incidence rate of people who get the disease and don't know it, or it's so mild they don't worry about it, is somewhere in the ballpark of 80%. We'll go into that in another video. So the current results of the mortality rates in the US is that it is 1.4% and dropping rapidly. It started out in the 2 to 4% range and is now down to the 1.4. So conclusion, mortality rate is expected to continue to drop rapidly as testing frequency and incidence increases.